Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are taking a look at, well, we're drilling all the way down to the bedrock of enterprise software. We are taking a pretty massive stack of documentation. I'm talking technical manuals, troubleshooting guides, and some very dense expert notes.
Oh yeah, dense is definitely the right word for these sources.
Right. And we are unpacking one of the most notorious high-stakes puzzles in the corporate world. For those of you listening, if you work in logistics or IT support, you already know the terror of this specific issue.
It's a topic that, it sounds incredibly boring at a cocktail party, but it is absolutely terrifying if your job is keeping a supply chain moving.
Exactly. We are talking about SAP, specifically the Sales and Distribution Module, or SD, and even more specifically, we are dissecting the single most common frustration-inducing support ticket that crosses a consultant's desk. The subject line usually reads something, well, it's usually just 4 words. Delivery, not getting created.
It sounds so benign, doesn't it? Delivery not created. It sounds like a printer error.
Yeah.
Like, oh, just click the button again, it'll print.
Right. But the sources we have today describe this not as a glitch. They call it a gatekeeper issue. I really love that term. It implies authority. It implies that the system is literally standing there with a spear, blocking the path. Why is this specific error, or often, honestly, just a total lack of response from the system, given such immense weight in the SAP ecosystem?
Well, because you have to understand what a delivery actually is in SAP. It's not just a piece of paper, it's a trigger. In the physical world, until that delivery document is generated in the system, the warehouse is entirely paralyzed.
Wow, paralyzed.
Completely. The big list doesn't print. The forklift driver doesn't know where to go. The truck sits empty at the dock, burning fuel. It is the literal starting gun for logistics.
So quite literally, if this glitch happens, the entire supply chain stops.
The supply chain stops. And, maybe more importantly for the people in suits upstairs, the revenue recognition stops. If you can't ship it, you cannot bill for it. So when a user submits a ticket saying delivery and not created, they aren't just reporting a software bug, they are reporting that the cash flow pipe for the company has been clogged.
That raises the stakes significantly. And what is really fascinating about the material we are covering today is the deceptive simplicity of it. To the user sitting at their desk, it looks like one single thing failed. But underneath, there's this massive, complex web of integrations happening. You've got sales talking to materials management, talking to logistics execution, talking to finance.
It's the ultimate integration test. Think of the delivery creation moment as a tribunal. All the different departments of a company have to agree to let the goods leave the building.
A tribunal. I like that visual.
Yeah, sales says ship it.
Yeah.
Finance checks the wallet and says, can they pay? Logistics checks the shelf and says, is it physically there? If any single one of those departments, which are represented by background data tables, if any of them says no, the gate stays closed.
It is like a Rube Goldberg machine where if one tiny domino refuses to fall, the whole thing freezes. So our mission today is to take you, the listener, from the surface level, the did you try turning it off and on again level, and turn you into deep dive detectives. We are going to cover configuration, master data, and the actual underlying logic that runs the show.
We're going to move you from guessing to tracing. That is the goal.
Stop guessing, start tracing. I love that. So before we start debugging specific errors and looking at transaction codes, we really need to understand the laws of physics in this universe. Our sources refer to the golden rules of delivery logic. Basically, how does the system decide to say no?
Right. SAP is deterministic. That is just a fancy way of saying it doesn't have moods, it doesn't flip a coin, it follows pure logic. For a delivery to be created, 6 specific conditions must be true. We call these the golden rules. If even one of these is false, you get absolutely no delivery.
Okay, let's unpack these 6 pillars, because this is the foundation for everything else we'll talk about. What is rule number 1?
The schedule line. This is the heartbeat of the order. In a sales order, you have the header, which represents the customer, and the items will represent what they actually bought. But the granular detail, the actual promise to ship a specific quantity on a specific date, lives in the schedule line.
And for the technical folks listening, that is table VBEP, right?
Exactly, table VBEP. The rule is very simple. A schedule line must exist, and it must be confirmed. You might have an order for 100 widgets, but if the system hasn't confirmed that line item, meaning it hasn't successfully allocated stock to it, then logically there is nothing to deliver. The delivery creation program looks at that line, sees 0 confirmed, and just walks away.
So just having a saved order in the system isn't enough. It has to be a confirmed promise. Got it. What is the second rule?
Data alignment. This is a huge one, and honestly, it trips up even experienced users all the time. The material availability date, let's call it the MAD, must be on, or before the selection date you enter when you try to create the delivery.
We are going to do a whole segment on this later because it sounds like a time travel paradox.
Yeah.
But basically, you can't ship something today if the system thinks it won't be ready until next week.
Precisely. You can't withdraw money from the bank that hasn't been deposited yet. The dates have to align.
Rule number 3.
The shipping point. This is the logistics of where. A delivery note needs to tell the warehouse team exactly where to go. Is this leaving from the main loading dock? Is it leaving from the hazardous materials cage? Is it leaving from the rail yard out back?
So truck literally needs a physical door.
Right. If the system cannot determine a shipping point based on the master data, it cannot create the document. It literally does not know where to print the paperwork. No shipping point, no delivery.
Makes total sense. Rule number 4.
No blocks. This is the silent killer. You can have a delivery block set at the header level of the order. You can have a credit block coming over from the finance module. You can even have a specific block on just one single line item. Any active block acts as a hard barrier.
Okay, and rule number 5.
Completeness. The data has to be thorough. SAP is rigorous. If your system is configured to require, say, Incoterms like FOB New York, and the sales rep just forgot to fill that field out, the order might actually let you save it. But it will be marked incomplete in the background. An incomplete order is paralyzed. It cannot be processed downstream to a delivery.
And the final one, rule number 6.
Copy control. This is the technical bridge. There are rules configured in the back end that dictate exactly how data flows from the order document to the delivery document. It is like a translator. If the translator is broken or if the rules say, hey, don't copy this type of data, the bridge is out. Nothing crosses over.
6 massive hurdles to jump before a truck can even move. That really sets the stage for why this goes wrong so often. It's not just one thing. It's a gauntlet.
It really is. It is a survival course for data.
So let's get practical. Let's say you are sitting at the support desk. A ticket lands in your queue. High priority. Help, I can't create a delivery for order 1234. The user is frantic. The truck is waiting outside. You call this phase 1. Immediate triage. What are the quick kills?
These are the checks you do in the first 5 minutes. And honestly, they resolve about 80% of the tickets. You don't need to be a coding wizard for these. The very first thing you do is go to transaction VA03. That is display sales order. You open the order and you just check the status.
Just a status. That seems, I don't know, too easy.
You would be shocked. You go to the environment menu, select status overview. You look at the overall status of the order. Is it open or is it completed?
And if it's completed?
Then the delivery already exists. Often, a user is double-clicking, or maybe someone else in their department already processed it 5 minutes ago and didn't tell them. If the status is completed, you just send them a screenshot of the existing delivery number and close the ticket.
Okay, so that is the SAP equivalent of asking, is the computer plugged in? But assuming the order is actually open, what is the next trap? The outline here mentions the zero quantity phenomenon.
Oh, this is a classic. The user runs the transaction to create a delivery, usually VL01N. The system runs, and maybe it even generates a document number, or maybe it just spits out a message saying, no schedule lines due. The user looks at the result, sees zero quantity picked, and just panics.
Because they see a totally blank delivery note on their screen.
Right. The key here for the person troubleshooting is to go back to the order, back to VA03, and look at the Schedule Lines tab. You're looking for one specific field, confirmed quantity. This field is your ultimate fork in the road.
Break that down for us. Why is that specific field so critical?
Because there are 2 entirely distinct reasons why you might get zero quantity in a delivery. Reason 1, you physically have no stock. Reason 2, you have the stock, it is yours, but something else is blocking you. The confirmed quantity field tells you which of those 2 problems you have.
Okay, so if the confirmed quantity is 0,
that means the availability check, or ATP, failed. The system looked for stock and found absolutely none. So if you see 0 there, stop looking for delivery blocks. Stop looking at date logic. You have an inventory problem.
Got it. And what if the confirmed quantity is greater than 0, say 10 units are confirmed?
Then the system knows you have the stuff. It has successfully allocated those 10 units to this specific order. But something else, a hidden block, a date mismatch, a shipping point error, is preventing the handover to logistics. That one distinction cuts your troubleshooting time in half because it tells you exactly which side of the system to investigate.
That is incredibly practical. So if it is confirmed but not delivering, we look for blocks or date issues. Which actually leads us directly to the time travel error you mentioned earlier. The sources called this the most common user training error.
It happens every single day. Let's walk through the exact scenario. A user goes to transaction VL01N to create a delivery. There is a little field on that initial screen called selection date. By default, SAP usually populates this with today's date.
Okay, that seems logical enough. I want to create the delivery today.
Ideally, yes. But let's say you have a sales order where the goods aren't actually available until next Friday. Maybe they're coming off the production line Thursday night. So the schedule line date, the material availability date we talked about, is next Friday.
Okay, I'm with you.
The user tries to create the delivery today, Tuesday. They just leave the selection date as Tuesday. The system looks at the order and says, I see you want this order. But the goods are not available until Friday.
Yeah.
Today is Tuesday. Therefore, I have absolutely nothing to give you today.
And the system returns the message, no schedule lines due.
Correct. And the user thinks the system is completely broken. They submit a ticket saying, but the order is confirmed. It says confirmed right there on the screen. And yes, it is confirmed for Friday.
It's like showing up to the airport 3 days before your flight and yelling at the gate agent because your plane isn't sitting at the gate.
That is the perfect analogy. The plane exists. Your ticket exists. But the time is wrong. You are trying to force a future event into the present.
So what is the fix for that? Is it a code change? Do you change a setting?
No, it's purely training. You have to teach the user. You tell them before you create the delivery, look at the material availability date in the order. If it says the 25th, you must manually enter the 25th or later date into the selection date field of VL01N. You have to widen the net of time to catch the fish.
Widen the net of time. I really like that phrase. Okay, let's go down the other fork of the road. Let's say we check the schedule line, and the confirmed quantity is 0. The system says no stock. But the user is furious because they are standing there looking at their monitor, and they see 100 units sitting in the warehouse.
Welcome to Phase 2, the deep dive into the availability check, or ATP. This is where users learn that stock is a very, very relative term in SAP.
Why is the system lying to them? Or, I guess, why does the user think it's lying?
Because the user is almost always looking at transaction MMBE, the stock overview. This is the most common inventory screen in the entire system. It shows physical stock. It counts what is physically sitting on the shelf. If there are 100 boxes in the bin, MMBE shows 100.
So the user sees 100 and logically thinks, great, I can sell 100.
Exactly. But the delivery logic does not care about physical stock. It cares about ATP stock, available to promise. Imagine those 100 boxes are sitting on the shelf right now. Now imagine that yesterday, 10 different customers called in and ordered 10 boxes each.
So all 100 boxes are technically sold.
They are reserved. They haven't physically left the building yet, so MMBE still counts them as present. But financially and logically, they are gone. They belong to those prior orders. So when you come in today and ask, hey, can I have one? The ATP logic looks at the math. 100 physical minus 100 reserved equals 0 available.
So MMBE is essentially a photograph of the warehouse, but it is not a photograph of the commitments.
Correct. The ultimate truth source for delivery issues is never MMBE. It is transaction C009. That's the availability overview. It shows the cumulative ATP quantity. It shows you the math. It lists every single open order that is currently hogging that stock.
So if you are a consultant and a user is screaming on the phone that we have stock, you open CO9.
CO9 is your shield. You open it, you take a screenshot, and you say, yes, we have stock on the shelves, but order A, order B, and order C have first dibs. You're at the back of the line.
Now, there's another incredibly deep layer to this definition of available. The system actually follows a strict set of rules to decide what even counts as stock in the first place. The sources mention the scope of check. This sounds like we are entering configuration territory.
We are, and this is where it gets really interesting. Transaction OVZ9. This is the rulebook that tells SAP what available actually means for a specific material. Let's take safety stock, for example.
Please explain that for the listeners who maybe aren't supply chain managers.
Okay, so many companies have a policy to keep a buffer. Let's say you always want to keep 20 units of widget X on hand for absolute emergencies. That is your safety stock. In the configuration in OVZ9, you can explicitly tell the system, do not include safety stock in the ATP calculation.
So if I have 100 units physically and 20 are designated as safety stock,
The system tells the sales rep, we have 80 available.
it's actively lying to the sales rep to protect the business.
Exactly. If a massive order comes in for 90, the system will just say, sorry, can't do it. Even though the warehouse manager can literally see 100 units with their own eyes. The system is ruthlessly enforcing the buffer.
That's fascinating. What else can OVZ9 hide from the users?
Blocked stock. Let's say you have a batch of stock that is sitting in quality inspection. It is waiting for the lab to test it. Physically, it is in the building. But can you promise it to a customer? In OVZ9, you decide. If you check the box that says Include Quality Inspection Stock, the system will let you promise it today, assuming it will eventually pass the test. If you uncheck it, that stock is completely invisible to the sales team until the lab clears it.
And then there's a really tricky one I saw in the source notes called RLT, replenishment lead time.
Ah, yes. The check without RLT flag. This tiny little checkbox causes so many massive headaches.
What exactly does it do?
Okay, if you check the box for check without RLT, the system acts like a very strict accountant. It only looks at what you have right now, physically, or what is definitely contractually coming in, like a firm purchase order. But, and here's the kicker, if RLT is active, meaning the box is unchecked, the system starts trying to predict the future.
How so? How does it predict it?
It looks at the material master data and sees a field called total replenishment lead time. Let's say it's set to 5 days. If you ask for stock today and there is 0 physical stock, the system says, well, I don't have it today, but I know theoretically I can manufacture or buy this in 5 days. So I will go ahead and confirm your order for 5 days from now.
Wait, even if there is no actual purchase order placed? Even if the manufacturing machine is broken?
Yes. It confirms the order based entirely on the theoretical ability to produce. It is a promise based purely on master data, not on inventory reality.
Wow. So if that lead time data is wrong, say, it actually takes 20 days to get the parts from China now, but the master data still says 5-day down, the system is going to confidently confirm orders for 5 days out, and you're going to miss every single customer deadline.
Exactly. You are lying to your customers automatically and at scale. Understanding the scope of check is vital. It defines the reality the system is operating in. If you don't look at OVZ9 when troubleshooting an ATP issue, you are flying blind.
This is a really deep concept. It's not just asking, is there stock? It's asking, what does the system consider to be stock based on our own rules?
Correct. You have to know the rules to understand the output.
All right, moving on to phase 3. Let's assume we actually have the stock. The ATP check passed with flying colors. The quantity is confirmed. But we still cannot create the delivery. The system is just giving us the silent treatment. The sources talk about the logistics of where, the shipping point.
Right. We touched on this briefly during the golden rules, but let's really drill down. A delivery absolutely cannot exist without a shipping point. In SAP, this is a hard, non-negotiable requirement.
How do we verify if this is actually the root of the problem?
You go back to the sales order transaction VA03, you go to the item details, and you click the tab labeled Shipping. There was a specific field there called Shipping Point. If that box is empty, you can stop everything else you're doing. That is your root cause. The system tried to find a shipping point automatically, and it failed.
Okay, so it's empty. Why would it be empty? How does the system usually find it? Because the user doesn't manually type it in every time, right?
It should be fully automatic. It uses a 3-part formula. Honestly, if you are an SAP consultant, you practically tattoo this formula on your arm. Shipping condition plus loading group plus plan.
Let's break those 3 components down. What is the shipping condition?
This usually comes from the customer master record. It defines the service level requested by the customer. Standard, express, pickup, rail. It tells the system how the customer wants the goods delivered.
Okay, got it. And the loading group?
This comes from the material master. It describes the physical handling nature of the product. Does it need a crane to lift it? A forklift? A handcart? A special pipe loader?
And the plant is obviously the warehouse facility where the stock actually sits. So the system takes those 3 distinct inputs.
And it looks at a master configuration table, transaction OVL2. Think of OVL2 as a giant complex matrix or a spreadsheet. The system runs a query against it. It says, okay, for shipping condition 01, which is standard, and loading group 0001, which is crane, at plant 1000, which is New York, what is the assigned shipping point?
And it looks for the exact intersection of those 3 variables.
Exactly. And if that specific combination is missing from the table,
Computer says no.
the determination fails completely. The field in the order stays empty. And because the field is empty, the delivery cannot be created.
This sounds like a really common issue when companies launch new products, doesn't it?
Oh, it is a classic launch day nightmare. Imagine a company launches a massive new turbine engine. You create the material master. You give it a brand new loading group called heavy lift because it's huge. You stock the warehouse. The sales team does their job and sells 50 of them on day one.
Everyone is high-fiving.
And then the logistics team tries to create the deliveries to put them on trucks. And absolutely nothing happens. Why? Because the implementation consultant forgot to go into OVL2 and tell the system which specific shipping point door handles heavy lift.
Moving to phase 4. The sources call these the silent killers. Blocks and credit. You mentioned earlier that these don't always scream at you with a giant red error message.
No, they are actually very polite about stopping your entire business process. Let's talk about delivery blocks first. These can be manually or automatically applied at the header level of the order. For example, maybe the order is marked political reasons or export papers missing.
Political reasons. That sounds like an international diplomatic incident.
It's actually a completely standard SAP reason code out of the box. Maybe you literally can't ship to a certain country right now due to sanctions. If that block is set, the system sees it as a hard do not ship. The delivery creation program just stops and says, no documents due. It doesn't necessarily pop up a big window saying, hey, this order is blocked.
Yeah.
It just silently fails to produce a document.
And you mentioned earlier a sneaky schedule line block. What makes it sneaky?
Oh, this one is nasty. Because you might look at the header status and see it's perfectly clear. No blocks at all. You think, great, the order is clean. But if you dig down into the item details and then go further down into the schedule line tab, there is a tiny little field for delivery block down there too.
Why would a block be hiding way down at the schedule line level?
This is incredibly common for free-of-charge items or returns. Let's say a customer buys a $5,000 laptop, which is line 1, and the promo includes a free mouse, which is line 2. The company might have a strict rule that all $0 items must be manually approved by a manager to prevent employee fraud. So the system automatically blocks only line 2.
So the laptop ships fine, but the mouse stays behind.
Exactly. And if the user is trying to run a batch job to create a delivery for the whole order, they might get a partial delivery or an obscure error, and they will not understand why. If you don't manually drill down to check the schedule line detail, you will literally never see it.
And then there's the big one, money. Credit management.
The ultimate financial barrier. If a customer exceeds their credit limit, SAP, FSCM, or Classic Credit Management steps in to protect the company.
How does that actually manifest to the user trying to ship?
The order status might explicitly say, credit check, not okay. But here's the crucial nuance. Transaction OVA8. This is the central configuration for credit checks. You can set the system to just give a friendly warning like, hey, they owe us money, just so you know, but let the order pass anyway. Or you can set the block delivery flag.
And if that flag is set to block?
The order still saves. The sales rep thinks they successfully made a sale and hit their quota. But the delivery creation is completely paralyzed. The order is effectively sitting in financial jail.
How do you get it out of jail? Can the sales rep do it?
No, you don't do it in the sales order at all. You have to go to the credit manager's specific tool set. Transaction VKM1 or VKM3, those are the reports for blocked SD documents. The credit manager has to physically review the account, maybe make a phone call to click payment, and then explicitly click release in that transaction. Until they do that, no truck moves.
It is amazing how much raw power these little checkboxes and flags have over the physical world.
It's all about control. It prevents the company from bleeding inventory to customers who simply don't pay their bills.
So we have cleared the overall status, we have the physical stock, we found the shipping point, and we have no blocks. Now we enter what the sources label the expert zone. Phase 5. Date logic and scheduling.
This right here is where we separate the junior consultants from the seniors. This is all about forward and backward scheduling.
We touched on this slightly with the time travel issue, but I want to really visualize the timeline here, because delivery date isn't just one single day, is it? It's actually the end of a long chain of events.
Right. You have to think of it as a countdown. When a customer calls and says, I want this delivered on Friday the 20th, the system doesn't just blindly say, okay. It rigorously works backward from that specific date to see if it is physically possible.
Walk us through that countdown math. Let's trace it.
Okay. The target is Friday the 20th. That is the requested delivery date. Step 1, the system looks at the road. How long does the truck take to drive there? Let's say transit time is configured as 2 days. So to arrive on Friday, the truck must leave the warehouse on Wednesday the 18th. That Wednesday is your goods issue date.
Okay, we are back to Wednesday.
Step 2. To leave on Wednesday, the truck obviously must be loaded. How long does loading take for this loading group? Let's say it takes 1 full day. So loading must actually start on Tuesday the 17th. That is the loading date.
Back to Tuesday.
Step 3. To even begin loading on Tuesday, the goods must be picked off the shelf and packed into boxes.
How long does that take?
Let's say the warehouse needs 1 day for picking. So the goods must be sitting there ready on Monday the 16th.
And that leads you to?
The material availability date. Monday the 16th. This is the critical, absolute baseline date. This is when the stock must be sitting on the staging floor ready for a human to touch it.
So if I want my goods at my house on Friday, but the SAP logic says the warehouse needs them on Monday, what happens if I try to create the delivery on Sunday the 15th?
Well, the system might say it's too early. But more importantly, what happens if I place the original order on Tuesday the 17th? The system calculates backward and says, well, to get there Friday, I needed the stock yesterday, on Monday. I cannot time travel. Therefore, I simply cannot confirm the Friday delivery date.
So it fails the backward scheduling. Does it just give up? Or does it push the date forward?
It does forward scheduling. It pivots.
Yeah.
It says, okay, you ordered today, Tuesday. I need 1 day to pick, 1 day to load, 2 days to travel. The earliest you can possibly get this is Saturday, and it automatically updates the confirmed date to Saturday.
This complex logic is all happening instantly in the background while the user is typing.
Milliseconds. And it is heavily driven by the route configuration, which is transaction 0 VRF. If your route determination fails, like the system can't figure out which road to take to get to the customer, it cannot calculate the transit time. If it can't calculate transit time, it often refuses to confirm the schedule line at all.
And what about the pick and pack time? Where does that specific data live?
That is configured per shipping point, usually in OVL2 or OVXT. Think about it. Some warehouses are very manual, guys walking around with hand carts. They might genuinely need 2 days to pick an order, but some warehouses are Amazon style, fully automated with robots. They might only need 2 hours. The system explicitly accounts for all of this variability.
It's essentially running a full simulation of the physical warehouse floor.
It has to be. If the system ignores the fact that it takes 2 days to pack the goods securely, you're going to promise Friday delivery to the customer, and you are going to fail every single time. The error you see on the screen isn't a glitch. It's the system trying to keep you honest.
That is a brilliant perspective. The complexity isn't there to annoy the user. It's there to rigorously model reality.
Precisely. It's defending your operational metrics.
Let's move to phase 6, technical troubleshooting. This is for when the business data is utterly perfect. Dates are fine, stock is there, credit is completely clear, but it still fails. The sources call this the bridge, copy control.
Transaction VTLA. Now we are finally getting into the real plumbing of SAP. This transaction controls the exact flow of data from the source document, which is the order, usually a type OR, to the target document, which is the delivery, usually a type LF.
Why do we even need strict controls here? If the order is good, why not just blindly copy everything over?
Because advanced business rules apply. You don't always want every single order to automatically become a delivery. This is where requirements come in.
Requirements in the specific SAP terminology sense.
Yes. In the VTLA configuration screen, for every single item category, you assign a requirement routine. Usually it's a 3-digit number, like 001 or 101. This number corresponds to a small, dedicated snippet of ABAP code.
What does that specific code do?
It acts exactly like a bouncer standing at the bridge. Before anything crosses, it runs a final check. It asks, is the order blocked? Is the item marked as rejected by the customer? Is the credit status still okay as of this exact second? If the routine evaluates all this and returns false, the copy process just aborts. The bridge lifts up.
And this happens completely silently to the user.
Usually, yes. You click Create, the system runs the routine, gets a false, and just stops processing. It doesn't always pop up a helpful box telling you exactly why.
And this bridge is also where custom code lives, right? The notes mention data transfer routines.
Yes, data transfer routines. A lot of large companies write their own custom logic here. For instance, they might write a rule that says, if the customer is Walmart, ensure this specific custom reference field is copied to the delivery note. If the internal ABA developer made a mistake in that custom code, say, they reference a field that happens to be empty on this specific order, the transfer just crashes silently.
So if you are troubleshooting a really stubborn ticket, checking VTLA to see exactly which routine is running is a real pro move.
Absolutely, especially if you see a custom routine number. Anything starting with a 9, like 901, is custom. That is a huge red flag that internal code might be causing the issue.
The sources also mention incompletion logs in this section. Technically open, but incomplete.
Right. Transaction OVA2. You can actually configure SAP to allow a user to save an order, even if it is missing vital data.
Yeah.
It warns you. It says, hey, you forgot to enter the payment terms. But it generously lets you save the document so you don't lose your work.
Okay, that seems user-friendly.
It is. However, in OVA 2, you can assign that specific missing field to a status group that has the delivery checkbox ticked.
Meaning what, practically?
It means the system is saying, I will let you save this order, but I will absolutely not let you create a delivery until you come back and fix this empty field.
It is a delayed punishment for the user.
Exactly. So the order looks open, the header status is open, but it is internally paralyzed. To actually find this, you have to go into the order in VA03 and proactively go to the top menu, Edit, then Incompletion Log. It will pop up a list of the missing fields. You fill them in, and the gate finally opens.
Now, for the really brave souls who want to see exactly what is happening under the hood, Phase 6 also touches heavily on hands-on debugging.
Yes, because sometimes the master data and the configuration just do not give you the answer. Sometimes you literally have to look at the code execution as it happens.
The guide suggests using transaction VL10B instead of VL01N for deep analysis. Why the change in transaction?
Because VL01N is a direct, interactive creation tool. It's for doing the daily work. VL10B, or just the standard VL10, is a batchless processor. It has a very specific, powerful feature, the Analyze button. If you select your stuck order in VL10B and click Log Creation and then run it in the background, it generates a deeply detailed log.
A log that VL01N simply doesn't show you.
Right. VL01N might just spit out a generic red error. VL10B's log might explicitly say Item 10, Material X is currently locked by user Jones.
Right.
Or Item 20, Physical weight calculation failed because the master data is missing a unit of measure. It gives you the actual breadcrumbs.
That sounds a lot safer than reading raw code. But if we do need to read the code, if we are at the end of our rope...
Even if you're a functional consultant and not a trained ABA developer, you don't need to be afraid of this. You just need to know the specific trick. You go to VL01N. In the little white command box at the top left of the screen, you type /H/H.
That turns on the system debugger.
Yes. You type it, then press Enter. You'll see a message saying debugging is switched on. Then you try to save or create the delivery as normal. The debugger window will suddenly pop up over your screen. It honestly looks like the Matrix.
And what exactly are we looking for in the Matrix?
You don't need to read every line. You want to set a breakpoint at one specific function module. RV_delivery_create. RV delivery create.
That sounds like the absolute motherboard of the whole process.
It is the pulsing heart of the delivery process. If you put a watch on that function, you can step through the code execution line by line. There is an internal table in there called XVBAP. This table holds the actual order items you want to deliver.
Okay, I'm following.
As you step through the code, you just watch that specific table. If you see the system suddenly clear, the table literally delete the rows from memory, or if you see it change a little field called UPDKZ, the update indicator, to a blank value, it means the system has definitively decided, I am dropping this item.
Wow. You are catching the system in the exact act of deleting your delivery.
Exactly. And watching where in the code it drops the item tells you exactly which business rule you violated. You'll see, oh, it dropped it right after the credit check routine ran, or oh, it dropped it right after the shipping point verification.
That is the ultimate trace don't guess move. You are literally watching the binary decision happen in real time.
It is the most powerful troubleshooting tool you have in your entire arsenal.
We are in the home stretch now. Phase 7, advanced scenarios. These are the real mysteries. And the first one is referred to as the stock stealer.
Ah, yes. Transaction V_V2. VV2. Rescheduling. This is the stuff of absolute nightmares for junior support staff who don't know it exists.
It sounds incredibly malicious, the stock stealer.
It feels incredibly malicious to the poor user. Imagine this exact scenario. You are a sales rep. You check your big order on Monday afternoon. It is confirmed, the green light is on, you have the stock allocated, you call the customer and promise, yes, shipping out Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
You go home happy.
Okay, sounds like a good day.
You come back into the office Tuesday morning. You open VL01N to create the delivery for the truck. And the system says, confirmed quantity, 0. The stock is gone, just vanished overnight.
Who took it? Where'd it go?
It wasn't a human thief, it's a background program. Most large companies run a batch job called VV2 overnight. Its entire purpose is to optimize the corporate order book. It looks at all open orders across the company and all available stock, and it completely reshuffles the deck.
Reshuffles based on what criteria?
Based on delivery priority. Let's say a massive, high-priority customer like a Walmart or an Amazon placed an urgent order very late Monday afternoon.
And you, the sales rep, are dealing with a standard low-priority customer.
Exactly. And let's say there's only enough physical stock in the warehouse for one of those orders. The VV2 job runs at 2 a.m. It looks at the priorities. It sees the high-priority order needs that stock. It will literally go into your confirmed order, unconfirm it, set your quantity to 0, physically take that stock allocation, and give it to the high-priority customer.
It literally robs Peter to pay Paul.
Because Paul pays the company 10 times more money. It is brutal, ruthless corporate efficiency. It is not a bug at all. It is priority logic functioning perfectly. But if you don't know that nightly job runs, you will swear the database is corrupt.
That is terrifying, but also kind of brilliant from a business standpoint. And finally, the last scenario, split analysis.
Right. This is when you fully expect one single delivery document for your 2 order items, but the system confusingly generates 2 separate deliveries, or sometimes 3. You end up with multiple tracking numbers, multiple invoices, and a very confused customer receiving 3 different boxes.
Why does it split them up?
Because a single delivery document in SAP can only have one header, and that header can only have one shipping point, one ship to address, one set of Incoterms, one route.
I see. So if item A needs to leave from dock 1 and item B needs to leave from dock 2.
They physically cannot be on the same piece of paper. The system forcefully splits them into 2 distinct documents so they can be processed by the different warehouse docks independently.
How do you easily find out exactly why it decided to split? Because comparing 2 massive documents manually sounds awful.
It is awful. That's why you use the split analysis tool. It's built into transaction VL10. You just select the 2 deliveries that split, click the split analysis button, and the system automatically compares them field by microscopic field. It will literally highlight the exact mismatch in red. It will say, look, item A has Incoterm CIF and item B has Incoterm FOB. That is exactly why they split.
We have covered a truly massive amount of ground today, from the golden rules of VBEP all the way down to debugging the RV delivery create matrix and the stock stealer.
It is a vast, complex ecosystem. It really is.
So to wrap this deep dive up, what is the core mental model for our listeners? When that delivery not created ticket inevitably lands in their queue tomorrow morning, how should they approach it?
Stop guessing. Start tracing. I can't say it enough. Do not just stare blindly at the error message on the screen. Follow the data flow logically. First, check master data. Can we even ship this? Is the customer blocked globally? Second, check the order header. Are there specific blocks or credit issues holding us up? Third, drill into the schedule line. Is the date actually reached? Is the quantity physically confirmed? And fourth, check the underlying config, the shipping point, the route, the copy control in VTLA.
Step by logical step. Trace the path of the data through the tribunal.
And honestly, remember this above all else. Most delivery not created tickets are not system bugs. They are the system working exactly as designed. It is actively protecting the business from shipping stock it doesn't have, or shipping to customers who haven't paid, or trying to ship a heavy item from a warehouse store that doesn't exist.
That is such a powerful reframe. The error isn't the system failing. It is the system succeeding at rigorously enforcing the corporate rules.
The friction you feel at the keyboard is the safety mechanism engaging.
Which really leads to a provocative final thought for everyone listening. If this SAP system is working perfectly, and that friction is frustrating your users, is the flaw actually in your business process? Are your sales reps promising goods far too early? Are you ignoring credit limits to pad the quarterly numbers? Are you launching massive new products without bothering to set up the basic logistics master data?
That is the hard question every single consultant should eventually ask. Is this a system error? Or is the software just holding up a very unforgiving mirror to a deeply broken business process?
That is a very deep thought to end on. If
Yeah.
you're constantly fighting the system, maybe you should be looking at the process instead. Thank you so much for this absolute masterclass in troubleshooting.
It was my pleasure. Happy debugging out there.
And to our listeners, next time you see that delivery not created ticket, do not panic. You know exactly where to look. We will see you on the next deep dive.